Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So, welcome to our Real Self-Love community call. It is always a joy and truly a sacred privilege to be in this space with you. Before we dive in, I am going to begin by anchoring my energy with scent. Today, I'm wearing Luminace to bring in more light from our Soul Sense Alchemy line. And as I light this candle, I invite you all to take a deep breath together. So whether you have one of the Soul Sense Alchemy perfumes or not, or maybe you have some other essential oil, we're going to just go ahead and just invite your senses to be present. Yeah. So anchoring into this present moment as we gather. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So today we are gathering under the energy of this potent full moon. But more importantly, we're gathering in the spirit of conscious self-love, rooted not just in self-care or self-esteem, but in the deep remembrance of who we really are, beneath the programming, beneath the roles, beneath the loops. Today's theme is one that's been living inside of me for some time, growing, spiraling, and preparing to be shared. Today, we're going to be exploring the spiral path of conscious evolution. So you've probably heard me talk about the cornerstone process, which is my 5-step method that really supports healing, recovery, integration, and Dharma embodiment. This is the structure that I return to again and again, and it's helped thousands of people find clarity, grounding, and direction. But over the years, I actually began noticing something in myself and in the people that I work with. Even after deep healing and insight, the same patterns would show up again. Not quite the same, but familiar, like echoes or loops. And that can be frustrating. You know, you might be thinking like, haven't I already healed this? But what I came to see is this. We're not going in circles. We are spiraling. Life doesn't unfold in a straight line. And your soul doesn't evolve on a ladder. It moves in loops of deepening, and it returns with more wisdom in these sacred cycles of remembering and reclaiming. So the spiral path is the map for that journey. Today, I'd like to plant the seed of this spiral lens in our community. We've got more folks joining in. Hang on, let me let everybody in. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you all here joining us. Tuning in. We've already set the frequency with tuning into fragrance as a way of engaging the senses. So if you find that your life feels like it's repeating, I want you to think of it differently. I'll be sharing more about this spiral lens in this community. It's also something that I will be sharing more in the months ahead as we offer the conscious evolution journey. But for now, just feel into what it might mean for you that your life isn't repeating, it's refining, that you're not stuck, you're actually spiraling toward truth. And in a moment, I will share a personal story to bring this to life. And then I'll invite you to reflect and share one or more spiral moments. So take a deep breath. And let this spiral seed settle into your field. All right? Welcome. For those of you who are new, if it's your first time joining, you can go ahead and type into the chat where you're zooming in from. It's always nice to see all the various countries represented here. So I want to kind of illustrate what this spiral of awakening looks like by using, as always, my own life. So you may remember that way back in 2005, I was at a peak in my career, or at least what some people might think of as a peak. Spiritually, though, I was actually bottoming out. And if you've read the Real Self-Love Handbook or seen my TED Talks, or you've been around, you know that I had a near-death experience not far from here in the Mediterranean. And that experience gave me so much clarity. But the full transformation wasn't linear. I spiraled through healing trauma, discovering spiritual gifts. And I also had doubts. I had periods of avoidance. And then I returned to some older patterns of hiding and trying to be perfect. But now I can see that each return wasn't failure. It was another spiral loop, another layer to integrate. And over time, this led me to fully embody who I really am as DaeEss Wandrea. And it led to me bringing forth the cornerstone process, even launching my own Oracle GPT and the conscious evolution journey. And what I now know is I wasn't going in circles. I was rising and spiraling, remembering more of who I truly am. So I want to name some of the core elements of this spiral path. And then I invite you to feel into where these may already be at work in your own life. This isn't a philosophy, it's a way of seeing. And it's a lens that can bring immediate compassion and clarity to the experiences that we often judge as setbacks or failures. So we'll start with what I call soul echoes. These are the patterns, the wounds, or the relationship dynamics that seem to just show up again and again. And it's easy to think like, I thought I was done with this, or why is this back? But what if it's back not to punish you, but to offer deeper integration? Same story, maybe, but with new depth. Same pattern, maybe, but with new power. For me, themes like burnout, visibility wounds, and spiritual intensity have come around multiple times. But each return was different. Each time I could meet it with more wisdom, with more tools, and with more soul. So those are what I call soul echoes. Then there are what I call overlays. And these are these inherited programmed aspects of our identity. That could include ancestral trauma, family roles, and cultural conditioning. They're like the energetic templates that we unconsciously wear. This spiral path really helps us recognize, okay, this isn't me. This is something I'm carrying. And in that recognition, we begin to shed, to transmute, and with consciousness, to choose again. And then we reach soul nodes. These are tight places in the spiral. These are those decision points where the same pattern presents itself, but this time you're more awake and you realize, I can do this differently. You can say no. You can walk away. You can reclaim your power. Every time I said yes to ceremony, or I said no to old contracts that didn't serve me. I was standing in a soul node. And those were initiations. And ultimately, they changed my timeline. And then that leads to spiral power. This is the strength to meet a familiar situation with new consciousness. It's not about trying to control the spiral. It's about showing up in it with clarity and courage. So you don't always get to choose what shows up, but you always get to choose who you are in the face of it. And this is where self-love becomes sovereignty. And finally, there's timeline shifting. It's when you choose differently at one of those soul nodes. It's when you can release an overlay or respond instead of react. And you start to create internal coherence. And it's coherence that changes reality. New opportunities, new relationships, new insights, they begin to spiral toward you because you're spiraling upward. For me, revisiting some of the old themes around burnout, fear of being seen, initiation, even resistance to success. And it wasn't regression, it was soul refinement. Every loop brought me closer and closer to my essence. And each return gave me more of myself. So I wonder if you can relate to any of what I'm saying. I invite you to think of a pattern that you've been revisiting lately, something you've healed before, but now it's resurfaced. And thinking of that pattern, what if it's not backtracking, but it's your spiral offering you a new soul node? And ask, what might shift if you saw this pattern as sacred, as layered, and purposeful? So what does this bring up for you as you hear this concept of this spiral path of awakening? What does it bring up for you to reframe those experiences as part of your spiritual maturity journey rather than looking at it as a personal failure? You can choose to raise a hand if you'd like, electronically or otherwise. Or you can maybe wave at me if you want to share how this is showing up in your own life, if you feel comfortable. And as always, I will lead us in the attunement meditation so that we can really explore this personally and deeply. Anyone have anything to share or comment on? And in the meanwhile, I'll see that we've got folks. Tara's in Northern Cal. Tina in Rochester, welcome. Rue Alice in LA. Arnold, welcome back from Germany. Chodayar's in Orange County. Tammy's in Florida. Awesome. Kathy, I see your hand is up. You can go ahead and unmute and share. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute. And I'm staying on off video. I just had surgery on May 1st, and the surgery was fine. It was to see if I had cancer, and I do not. But I've had a severe reaction to the anesthesia and now an infection. So I loved hearing your spiral story because this has brought up my feeling alone, which is something I go back to a lot. But what I noticed this time is I have an openness to allowing people in a way, not that I need help per se, but that I don't even know the right word yet because it's still percolating. But it's almost like I realize this is a spiritual opportunity for me to open my heart to receive love. And before it was always about, I need to protect myself or need to be strong. This isn't a needy thing, it's an opening. And so the spiral thing made complete sense to me. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so glad to hear the surgery went well. Sending you positive
Thank you.
vibes to get past all of the reactions and things to the anesthesia. And how beautiful that you can see this as an opening, as a new opportunity that's part of your spiraling forward and upward. Thank you for sharing, Kathy. Welcome back. Yes, Tara, I see you.
I came up with sort of a different metaphor some years ago in my healing that my wounds are my life koans that I keep working on. That's my koan, and let go of expectation that I can wipe it out. But with my work, it gets to be fine tuning. It no longer inhabits so much of my mind, so much of my brain, and it just comes up and oh, there it is again, and we get to work on it again. But, so it's how we hold it and finding a metaphor that works for us to help us to frame and be in acceptance and letting go of resistance and self-judgment. And you got it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that idea of it being a koan, because when I think of like the Zen koans, they're like little mind puzzles that there may not be a perfect right answer, but you can noodle on it and tune into it with your consciousness.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Anyone else care to share how this concept is landing for you, the idea of the spiral journey? Yes, Bhavna, I see you raising a hand.
Hi. Um, just listening to the conversation and what Sarah and Kathy have shared. It's almost like a dance back and forth. Um, as I would say in the last 3 months, there's been a lot of stuff that probably haven't thought about in 10 years that started to resurface. And I can feel my body wanting to go back into the way it used to process and handle things. But my spirit says, wait a minute, hold on. This is coming up again. What do you need to learn from this? And I've noticed that even though my body wants to go thematically go back to that same response that it did 10 years ago, it's like, no, you've processed a lot of stuff. Hold on, wait a minute. There's something else to gain from this process. There's something to learn. Just take a minute and sit with it and it's like a dance conversation that I'm having with whatever's resurfacing, whether it's a relationship, dynamics at work, interactions with certain people in my life. So it's really been a dance back and forth. And I would say with this full moon going on, this week has been pretty intense. So yeah, thank you for sharing that and really going through the different spiral nodes and how it shows up and the point. I feel like for me it's something that might continue while I'm here on this earth, but each time the process comes up, I learn a little bit more. I process it a little bit different. I do feel like I'm growing. So I'm grateful for that. It's not easy, but I am grateful for that.
Thank you for sharing, Bhavna. A dance. Yes. And that it brings to mind dancers who can just flit and turn and twist around the dance floor, and they come back to other points, and maybe you have a different move that you do, a different turn. And what I hear is that consciousness, you are being the conscious witness of, okay, similar pattern, similar dynamic, but you get to choose how you look at it and how you respond. Beautiful. And perspective is everything, isn't it? Anyone else care to share? Silence. Okay, it's all good. Yeah, Jess.
So I was trying to come up with a concise way in my head. So I'll just try. But it was what you were saying was making me think of self, of course, from the IFS perspective, and how in this spiral, what's happening for me, I see, is coming at similar situations, but from a place of more and more self. And listening to a book recently talking about sort of what are parts, neurologically speaking, as bundles of wired neurons. And each time you sort of unburden the part that's associated with pain and suffering in that bundle, it's liberating sort of more of your brain and more of your capacity to deal with what you're experiencing. Yeah. So tried to keep that concise, but that's what it was raising for me, like bringing up for me.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, I love that. It's like those nodes get released. And yeah, as you release an overlay, whether that's an ancestral burden or something you've carried in this lifetime, that does liberate new energy. And it also gives us an opportunity to rewire the brain. You know, that's a lot of what folks do with EMDR, you know, the eye movement desensitization and repatterning. It's what can also happen when you're doing like tapping. If you've done any of these tapping things, it's that way of uncoupling a fixed pattern from your nervous system and having an opportunity in that opening to repattern, to choose something new. And consciousness is the beautiful aspect, that self that you're talking about with a capital S, that sense of sovereign self that gets to come in and say, oh, wow, we just released. Let's give thanks and let's move forward. Thank you for that. Anyone else care to share before we move into the attunement meditation? Any other spirals popping up in your life? Inflection points for your awakening journey?
Hi, may I please share?
Yes, Tammy, go for it.
Yes. Hi. Thanks. I am here, a real person, but well, anyway, I just want to say that I'm having some difficulty now with the support group that I'm in that is very much based into their stories. And I feel that my story, I'm a little bit removed from any stories in my head anymore. It's my version of what happened. It did happen. I do IFS work, so I am channeling my inner family and all of that. I'm not in denial that I know of, but the stories in this particular support group are always victim oriented, survival based, and I do feel I spiraled up, but I don't know if that's my ego that thinks, oh yeah, I'm just like above that now. I don't know. I just don't relate to stories so much as I relate to folks who are sharing visions of growth and personal evolution rather than analyzing what happened in the past. So I was wondering if you would ever be able, please, Doctor, to mention the importance of stories and our attachment to them. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you for sharing, Tammy. Absolutely. Appreciate you. Story. Wow, that is the crux of it all, right? We often see story from the lens of narrative. So narrative is telling a story, and each of us are engaged in telling stories. There's a story that you tell yourself about yourself. There's a story you tell about your trauma, about your upbringing, about your place in the world. And when we're in a more egoic, survival-based state, our stories are something that we often cling to because it gives us a sense of identity, whether that's to belong or to feel safe or to be in that victim state, being stuck in that I was wronged, look at me, poor me. But as we grow up, as we have more consciousness, as we do this healing work, we do get to a point where we're like, oh, yes, those things happened, but that's not my story anymore. I'm ready to tell a new story. And it's a story not of victimhood. And that is something that you can trust because that is part of the awakening journey. We are each souls. You're not your body. You're not even your mind. You're not all the things that happened to you. You are a soul on a journey of evolution, spiraling. And when you're at different levels, your story will shift. Your sense of identity will shift away from being egoic, and maybe you start to identify more with your true essence, your soul, or your authentic self. So I would say that that is very normal. And I would invite you, Tammy, and everyone listening to tune in and think, how does it feel in your body? Because of course, yeah, you might have these parts that are saying, well, wait, is this ego? And what does it mean to have leveled up? Are you attaching meaning to that? Like, oh no, do I think I'm better than those people? And all of those are valid questions. But ultimately, if you think of it as school, like, we're here in the school of life, and we're all learning to unravel our past programming and trauma and karma to evolve into this next higher version of ourselves. If you looked at that in school terms, sure, if you thought about it in school, you might remember how it felt when you moved into like high school. And in the United States, usually that's in a different physical structure. And you might see those other kids and think, I'm better than them, right? Or I'm not the little kid anymore. And that's valid. But over time, as you go past your freshman year, junior year, you start to realize I'm not better than anyone. I've just come through the curriculum and here I am. So I would just invite you to tune in. What does it mean to graduate? Does it mean you're better than? Maybe. You'll have to answer that question for yourself. Does it feel like, oh, deep breath? Yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. And can you turn toward those parts that might have felt judgy or questioning and say, wow, I get it. We're in a new phase. Like the old patterns don't fit anymore. The old stories don't fit anymore. So it can feel a little uncomfortable when you're in that in between, when you're edging toward this new level of existence. But if it feels right and true, like, yeah, I am done with that old story, that old narrative. If that feels like a coming home to your truth, then I would say you can probably trust it. But you can also bring that question into the attunement meditation that we'll do next and get more clarity around that. Because meaning is something that each of us gets to define for ourselves. So thank you for bringing that in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. So I'll leave some time for reflection after the meditation. So if anything else comes up, you can note it, log it, and we can bring it up momentarily. So as I think of this spiral path, for me, it's helped me have more compassion for myself. To see that if I do fall into an old pattern, rather than beating myself down, I can actually just say, oh, okay, I get it. Familiar territory, without judging, without criticizing. And then I can still choose, how do I want to be going forward? And what does that growth look like? Where am I going? It may not be clear, but you can trust that we're all doing the same thing. We're all on this path of awakening. And that's the whole point of life in a human avatar. And for me, once I shifted my perspective, I could tune into grace a little easier. Like having grace for myself, for my parts. So wherever you are, if you're able to, I invite you to sink in as we do the attunement meditation. If you're new here, the attunement meditation is this 5-step mindfulness practice that will allow you to bring some coherence to your brainwave states, to drop into the body, drop into the heart, even connect to higher states of consciousness. And all parts of you are welcome. All parts of you. The parts that doubt, the parts that have fear. It's all totally welcome here. We're not trying to exterminate any parts of us. It's all welcome. The ego is not something to get rid of. It's an aspect of the human avatar. So I invite you to take some deep breaths with me as we anchor into this moment. You might put a hand on your chest or on your belly. And this type of breathing, we're inviting you to take deep belly breaths using your diaphragm to really expand and fill the lungs. And as you breathe in, you're breathing in permission to release. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, filling your lungs. Hold for 2 to 4 counts. And then exhale slowly. You might even exhale with an audible sound as you let go. And as you take these deep breaths, I want you to just start to be aware of your body in this space, feeling yourself sitting on the chair or your yoga mat or the couch, the bed, floor. And with your next breath in, once again, just imagine that you're breathing in permission to relax. And permission to let go. And just feel yourself sinking into whatever you're sitting on, whatever you're standing on, and feel energetically that there are roots going from your spine down through the seat of your pants, down through your feet, into this great Mother Earth, as if you're planting roots that are going to anchor you into this great Mother. This great Mother who receives us, this great Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. And with your next breath in, imagine that you're breathing in light from the top of your head or the tip of your nose. And this light carries with it just gentle, peaceful energy. It's not a blinding light. Could be sparkly, could be tinged with fairy dust. Just imagine that this light fills your head with waves of peace and relaxation. And as you breathe in this light, It flows down your head, relaxing your scalp. It eases the tension between your eyebrows. As you breathe in this peaceful light, it relaxes the muscles around your eyes, flows down your face, relaxing your jaws. And as it floats down your throat, it relaxes your tongue. And this light continues to gently ease the tension in your neck. And just welcome this light. And if you find that it gets stuck anywhere or comes across tension or darkness, you don't have to resist it. Just breathe in more light and awareness into that part. And see this light filling your chest. It flows down your arms to your elbows, bringing waves of relaxing, peaceful energy down your forearms to your wrists. It flows through your palms, out of the back of your hands, out of each of your fingers and thumbs. And this peaceful light eases the tension of your upper back. It flows down your lower back, down your torso, and just see that light removing the tension as it flows to the seat of your pants, your hips, carrying relaxing waves down your thighs to your knees. And this light of relaxation flows down your shins and calves to your ankles. And just see it continue to flow with your breath down to your heels, out through the soles of your feet, back into the earth, out of all of your toes. And as you continue to breathe, just scan your body from your head down. And once again, just check if there's any tension, any tightness, and see if you can just breathe in more of that light. The first step of the attunement meditation is allow. We allow ourselves to tune into the body and the mind without judgment. We're learning to become the witness, the consciousness that has this body. So it doesn't matter if you have racing thoughts or if you have pain or tension. You allow yourself to witness it without criticizing it, without wishing it would go away. There's no need to fix in this moment. We're just getting present. And just see if you can bring some openness, some curiosity to what's showing up. The body is a mirror of the unconscious. So sometimes the thoughts, the traumas, the things we've not been willing to face, they will show up in the body. So you might even ask your body, what do you want me to know? Do you have a message for me? As you feel your heart beating, you feel your breath starting to settle. Who is it that's witnessing the body? The second step is attune. The human body, the avatar that we inhabit, is like an antenna. It picks up on frequencies. It also emits frequencies. So just imagine that you could tune into the frequency of loving kindness. And so we invite into this safe, sacred space a compassion figure. Maybe it's your highest self, the highest version of you, your soul. You might imagine a compassion figure, a religious figure, someone that you've known who might have passed on, a loving pet, a fairy, a saint, an angel. Just imagine that coming into this space is a being that has unconditional acceptance and love toward you. And it's okay if it's imaginary, because maybe you don't have any models of pure compassion. But just imagine that this compassion figure is beaming loving kindness gently from their heart directed toward you and all your parts and your body. And as you tune into that frequency, just see, are you able to welcome it in? Can you breathe that loving kindness in? And imagine that as they're beaming these waves of loving kindness, that they say to you, "It is my sincere desire that you know true happiness. May you be truly happy." And see if you can let that sink in. Yes, you, even with your pain or struggles, there's a being that is sending you loving kindness. And from their heart, they say, "It is my sincere desire that you be free from suffering. May you be free from suffering." And allow that to land as well. And they continue to send you this loving kindness as they say, "May you be truly well in body, in mind, and in heart. May you live with grace and ease." Now, there may be parts of you that feel that that's really hard to accept. And that's okay. Those parts are welcome too. They can just hang out. Little droplets of that loving kindness will penetrate their field as well. If there is a part of you that needs some of that loving kindness, you can call it forward. It could be part of your body, your auric field. It could be a tender, younger part of you, an inner child, an inner baby, a teenage part, or a part of you today that's struggling. And just imagine that this part steps forward into this field of loving kindness. And you can ask this part, "What do you want me to know And let the parts know that they don't have to censor their language. They don't have to get it right. Maybe they just want to send you the feelings that they want you to be in touch with. It's all welcome. It may be that there are parts of you that are confused, that want things to change. So you can invite that part to ask you a question, or to ask this compassion figure. Maybe there are other ancestors or guides. You could even call in your own personal oracle, a sort of Yoda-like figure, a wise figure, that if you don't have the answer, you can invite in higher states of consciousness for wisdom, for witnessing. And maybe these parts are telling you their story. Maybe it's a story you haven't been ready or willing to face or hear. Allowing them to share whatever is coming up. If you can't hold it, don't worry. There's a compassion figure that can still hold that compassion and non-judgment. Quite often, our parts just want to be seen. They want to be witnessed. They want to be believed and validated in their experience. And you might ask, what do you want me to do for you? Quite often we hold on to patterns and beliefs because we can't see our way past them. And those younger parts, they might not have had the power of their voice or the courage or the space. So quite often we have to be that loving parent and caregiver that can finally hear them, that can answer their questions, and if possible, to make changes so that they can feel safe and honored and free to grow up. Step 3 is align. We align the mind with a higher state of consciousness. With an open heart, with compassion floating around us, we can now drop whatever fear or doubt or question into the field and wait. Ask and wait for a higher state of consciousness to show you the way forward or to give you an answer. It may come as we're meditating, later as you're journaling, or as you drift off to sleep. But you're making a commitment to open your mind to higher states of consciousness. And you might even say, let my mind be guided by peace and love. May my mind be free from confusion. Step 4 is inspired action. This is where we explore how we can integrate these parts, these awarenesses, into action. But not just any action. Inspired action is about tuning into spirit or soul, not the habitual patterns of programming, but something that's truly full of light. So you might even ask, what is the next right step for me on my path? What is one inspired action I can take? And if it feels correct for you, you can make a commitment to take that action when the time comes. And just know that, again, your oracles, your wisdom figures, your consciousness is already looking for those answers, and it will be delivered to you, perhaps in signs, in symbols, in your dreams, in synchronicities, in new connections. So stay open to that. The last step is appreciation. Whatever has come up, see if you can find some gratitude in your heart and express that gratitude to the parts that have showed up. Thank them for their courage, their vulnerability. You might even show appreciation to your body for bringing you through this life. You can thank your compassion figures, ancestors, guides, your wisdom figure. And you can express that gratitude toward yourself for showing up. So whatever parts have shown up today, I invite you to send that same loving kindness from your heart toward all of these parts and figures. With gratitude, you can say the compassion phrases to them. May you be truly happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be well in body, mind, and heart. And may you live peacefully with grace and ease. And you can imagine these parts dissolve into light like a rainbow. Some parts may want to go off somewhere else, and that's fine. But with your next breath in, imagine you could breathe in that rainbow light into your heart. You're breathing in the essence of your guides, your guardians, your inner children, your compassion figure. They're always with you, a heartbeat away, a deep breath away. And now, directing that loving kindness toward your own heart, toward all of those parts, and toward yourself, you say, may I be truly happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be well in body, mind, and heart. And may I live peacefully with grace and ease. And with all that gratitude and compassion swirling in your own heart and all around you, you can generously share that with everyone in the Real Self-Love movement, directing it to the people in this Zoom call, the people watching the replay. You could direct that loving kindness toward your family, your friends, your community, our planet. Just imagine sending those waves of loving kindness from your heart all around the earth as you say, may you be truly happy. And see those waves rippling into their lives, bringing them just little unexpected joy. May you be free from suffering. And imagine that wish in some way brings them relief in the way that they need it most. May you be truly well in body, mind, and heart. And may you live peacefully with grace and ease. Just know that those wishes go forward and backward in time. You might be the one soothing a younger version of you. And with your next breath in, I invite you to wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a few deep breaths, maybe stretch. Oh. Coming back into this space. Yeah. Thank you for meditating with me. So we are already at the top of the hour, but as promised, I will open up for any questions or reflections. So that is the attunement meditation. As part of the Real Self-Love movement, you have access to downloads of this in long versions and short versions. So you can return to past sessions. Is there anyone who would like to share or comment what has opened up for you, if anything?
I'd like to share.
Welcome, Noemi. Good to see you.
Thank you. I had this part present who is very opinionated and really interprets all suggestions by anyone as a continuation of violation. And I was sitting with her the whole time, and at some point this image came to me of, some kind of like the way these Mediterranean old houses have this inner courtyard, and it's like different rooms and they all open into the courtyards, and it's like my parts each have one of those rooms, and the middle of the courtyard is this welcoming self space. And it was like I was sitting with her in this space where she was just like, oh, it's really so simple what love and self and wisdom is. It's always really the same, and that's almost confusing to her that it's not complicated. And we were just sitting in this brightly lit, sunlit space. And I just realized that it's just so counterintuitive to the way my brain has been conditioned to realize that there's such simplicity in this central space of welcoming, you know, and this growth and spiraling is almost like the parts coming out into the space and running away, but over time coming out and kind of accepting that this is the real reality. This is where grievances can be let go of. It was like she was starting to tell me that, you know, I don't want to let go of those things because they're all really important because they mean something. And that was just such a moving thing to hear. Like they mean something, like those judgments. And yeah, so it was moving and very visually appealing and very connecting. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for sharing. I love that visual of a courtyard, the safe space to connect. And yeah, what if it could be simple? And, you know, we don't have to let go of our stories. We don't have to let go of the things that are meaningful. And we don't have to be held prisoner by them. And, you know, we have parts that I saw your comment in the chat, Tara, about if I'm not the victim, then who am I? Mm-hmm. You know, it can be very confronting to say, wait, if I give that up, then what's left? And it's okay. It's okay to sit with that fear. And also to know that it's going to be okay. We don't have to let go of anything that we're not ready to. But when we're ready, the space is here. The compassion is here. Thank you for the kind messages in the chat. Thank you, Chuck. Good to see you again. I'll be seeing you soon. Singing with you soon. Bhavna, thank you. Beatrice, Arnold, Chodayar, Tammy, thank you for the comments. Anyone else care to share? Anything else that's coming up for you that you want to give voice to? You're welcome, Tina. So there's another practice that we can do in step 3 when we open up our mind and align to a higher state of consciousness. You can do that in your head. My husband has been crafting these magic boxes. They double as a container for your perfumes, but they can also be what some people call a God box or a wish box. So if you feel like there's something that, gosh, I want to let go of this, you can write it down and put it in your own box. Release it. And your wisdom figure, your higher self, the divine, let them handle it. For folks who know this concept, it's used quite often in 12-step traditions. Putting things in a God box. Could be a desire, like a wish for something, and then you release. And it's that conscious act of letting go that opens up the space for something new to come in. You're welcome. Ru Anis, glad you were here. You know, in doing this work and spiraling through my own stuff, every layer, I'm finding a new opportunity to face my fear, to face my programming. And then when I ask for that inspired action, my parts they're vocal. They're not afraid to say, this is what you need to do, girl. You know, I have sassy parts. And I was recently on retreat in Holland for our resilience and renewal retreat with psilocybin truffles. And one of my co-facilitators, Renee Eva, she leads these voice liberation workshops. And at one point, she said, you know, close your eyes, and there may be a part of you that doesn't want to be here. And at first I was thinking, well, of course everyone wants to be here. They got on a plane or a train, they're here. And I had a part speak up. And I was like, oh, is there a part that doesn't want to be here? Okay, tell me more. So I have parts that will show up and speak. And I had this part saying, I'm so tired of you keeping me in a box. That one hit me because I knew exactly who it was. It was my inner vocalist, my singer. And I keep getting these messages like, you keep writing songs and you're not releasing it. Release these songs to the public. They're creations, not just for you. And so in the inspired action phase, I said, okay, I'm going to make this commitment. And there's a project that I've been working on for any of the yogis here. If you have a mantra that you recite, whether it's tied to a deity or it's a Om Shanti or peace or what have you, I've been creating music with different mantras, because in the morning I do my morning sadhana, my morning practice, and in my space I've got this beautiful tanka of the green Tara. And normally when I'm in that space, it's very meditative and zen, you know, I'm tuning in for the day. But when I get off the cushion and I'm getting into my day, I want to carry that energy, but in a more active sense. And I happen to love neo soul and UK garage and all these different genres. And I thought, I can do devotional music. It doesn't have to be all the you know, it can be funky. So I started creating mantras with kind of a Buddha bar vibe, with a ceremonial vibe. So I am taking inspired action, and I am going to share with anyone who wants it. If you think that listening to some mantras would be fun for you in different genres, then just reply to the email you got from me, and I will send you a link. Many of my music tracks that aren't yet released to the public, I share them on my app, this platform called Soundwise. So the Seeds of Hope poem is there. The Oracle message is there. Zero Fucks to Give, the Vault collection is there. But I'm also going to share with you a series of mantras. So if you would like to get a hold of that before the rest of the world, like Spotify, gets it, then just reply to any email. So thank you all for being with me today. Thank you for meditating. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for sharing. Any last words that you want to share? And, you know, I've had a couple of people in this community. I won't call you out because I don't have your permission yet. If I have your permission, you can tell me. Someone who's singing with me, which I guess I probably already gave that away. Sorry. Someone who's created a co-poem to my Seeds of Hope concept. Looking forward to bringing music to that. And as I said, I won't say your name unless and until you say I can. But I can? Is that a yes? Okay. Noemi and Chuck. So I wrote this poem called Seeds of Hope, maybe you all have seen it or heard it. Coming out of November, US elections, and I was feeling very demoralized. And that singer part was like, how have we gotten through every challenge in life? For me, it's always been through the arts, through music, whether that's singing music, listening to music, creating music. And so I thought, okay. And I wrote this poem. And then I thought, oh, this could be spoken word. Let's put music behind it. And as I've shared it in this community, Noemi said, okay, I get the idea of hope, but there's also grief. Before we get to hope, I want to grieve the situation of the world, of the planet, and giving space for grief, giving it a voice, being able to hold that container. And so Noemi sent me this co-poem that she wrote. And I'm like, oh, can we set that to music too? And she said yes. So stay tuned for that. And because Chuck, you've been here in the Real Self-Love movement for a couple of years and done our resilience course and such. And you said, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, that you sing. And I had that in the back of my mind. And one of the versions of Seeds of Hope is a ballad, and it's a duet. And I'm like, oh, maybe this is the one. So I sent it to Chuck, and he was like, actually, yes, that is in my vocal register, and I like the lyrics. And so we have started this recording project. Chuck in the US and me over here in France with a producer also in the US. So I'm super excited that we'll be able to bring forth this duet and this co-poem and all the other music, because I've made a commitment to that part that's like, it's time. It's time. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited. So thank you all. Thank you for being here. And just know that I am always in my meditations, when I'm calling out to my cosmic team, I am inviting them to hold you in that light, in that love, in that embrace, sending you loving kindness and compassion wherever you are. So if ever you're feeling like, oh, I don't have a compassion figure, you do. You've got several, and they're always sending you good vibes. So thank you for being here. I look forward to connecting with you again and seeing what else comes from this spiral of awakening that we are all walking together. Much love, my friends. Much love. Take good care. See you next time.